Hello, economics students. Hey, today we're going to talk about an economics model called the circular flow, or the circular flow of money, goods, and resources. Again, this is an economics model. There's a lot of modeling that is done in economics. And what is a model? A model is a simplified representation of a complex item. So, for example, when I was a child, I remember I had a model airplane. Okay, my uncle gave me a model of a B-29 bomber from World War II. Okay, now I put together that model, and now I have a simplified representation of a B-29 bomber. Now, could that model airplane fly? Of course not. But it did provide a simplified look at what a B-29 airplane looked like. And that's sort of like what this model that we're going to discuss today is. The circular flow is a model, a simplification of a very complex process, and that process is really the economy. Okay, and so we're going to look at how money and goods and services and resources all interact together in such a way that our needs and wants are fulfilled in our economy. So what I want you to do is to take out a piece of paper. If you're at home and you're unable to come to class, you're going to need to take out a piece of paper, and we're going to build this model. And I want you to you're going to take up about a half of a piece of notebook paper to build this model. And the first thing I want you to do, let's say that what you see on your screen here is a half of a page of notebook paper. Kind of in the middle of that half of a page, I want you to draw on the left-hand side something that represents a house. You know, just a little simple cartoonish drawing of a house. It's perfectly fine. Okay, and that's going to be on the left-hand side, kind of in the middle. On the right-hand side, kind of in the middle, I want you to draw something that's going to represent a factory of some sort, or a business. So you might draw a square representing a building with a little extension coming out that represents a smokestack. Okay, so that would be a business. And you're going to label these. So on the left-hand side, you're going to label it households, and on the left-hand side, you will label it businesses. Okay, so this on the left and the right, kind of in the middle of that half of a sheet of notebook paper. Now, on the top middle of that half of notebook paper, I want you to draw something else, some kind of a box of some sort, and I want you to label that the market for goods and services. Okay, the market for goods and services. Okay, and then on the bottom part of that half in the middle, you're going to put some kind of a box, and that's going to be labeled your factors market, or you could call it the market for resources. You know, by factors, we're looking at the factors of production: land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. That's what we mean by factors. Okay, so here are the four basic elements of the model, but we're not quite finished. Next thing you're going to do, you're going to start drawing some arrows and labeling them. Now, what's going to happen? We're going to be making stuff over here on the right-hand side in the business, and we're going to be making goods and services. So what happens with those goods and services that are created in the business? They're going to be sent to the market for goods and services. Okay, so I want you to draw an arrow, and you're going to label that arrow goods and services, and that arrow points to the market. I want you to have this kind of on the outside of this representation too, not on the inside, but on the outside. Now, once goods and services get to the market, what's going to happen to them? Well, they're ultimately going to make their way to the households. So you're going to have another arrow going from the market for goods and services to the households, and again, label that goods and services. Now, how does the household manage to get these goods and services? Do they do that does a business provide that stuff to the market out of the goodness of its heart? No, not at all. Households have to do something, so they have to provide labor or other resources, other factors of production have to be provided by the households into that factors market. And then from the factors market, that labor and other resources will make its way to the business. Okay, so again, when we're talking labor and other resources, we're talking about the factors of production. Now then, how does this exchange of goods and services and factors of production take place, we need a tool to help facilitate this activity. And of course, that tool is going to be money. And the money will take different forms. Okay, so first thing that happens is we're going to have something called consumer spending. In order for the household to get those goods and services, they've got to spend money. And that money they're spending we label consumer spending, and that goes up to the market for goods and services. Now, that money is going to make its way to the businesses as well, but now the name of the money changes. It goes from being consumer spending to business income. Okay, so we're going to draw another arrow labeling that business income, and notice we're on the inside now. We were with the goods and services on the outside, now we're on the inside. Now, business income, what does that become? The businesses, remember, had to get labor and other resources from the households. So the households didn't provide the labor and resources for free, did they? No, they want something in return. And so what the business has to do is they take that business income and they convert that to wages and salaries. Okay, so you're going to have wages and salaries going down to the factors market. And now we're going to change the name, that when that money hits the household, it's no longer called wages and salaries. Now it is called household income. Okay, so this is the circular flow model of how any economy works that is based on money. Okay, money, as you'll recall, is a tool of economics which makes the exchange of goods and services and the fulfillment of our needs and wants much easier to happen in a complex economy such as exists today in the 21st century. So you're going to need to kind of remember how this works. Notice on the outside we have basically two circles. An outside circle which represents physical, tangible stuff, for the most part, goods and services, and labor or other resources. Most of this is stuff that you can kind of touch, right? Can't necessarily touch a service, but certainly you can touch a good, and you can touch most resources. But this is all tangible stuff that we can touch, and that is used in the production of things which we want to make our lives easier. The inside circle, notice it's all basically money. Money taking different forms depending on what element of this, where in this circle, or what element is trying to accomplish, what function it is accomplishing. So depending on where you are in this circle, money is going to have a different name, but it is all money. Okay, so your money is going to be on the inside circle, changing names based on the stage that you're at in the model, and your goods and services and resources are all going to be on the outside circle. And that is the circular flow model, a very simplified representation of how the economy works. Now, I could make this even more complex if I wanted to. I could add, for example, the government in there. That would make it more complex, but we're going to just leave the government out for now and just say we're strictly a free enterprise, private enterprise type of economy. And this is a simplified look at how it works, the circular flow model. We're going to use this model in class a few times this semester. So make sure you keep this in your notes. Check Canvas to see if there's assignment. And with that, we're done for the day. Take care.